It's been, actually, I think for an awful lot of people, it's been the saddest 10 days I can remember. Ever since really the death of Joe Cox, I guess, for whom we're wearing our white roses today. I don't know what if that was the beginning of it, but it seems to me that we are infinitely sadder now as a people, confused and upset, even if you were on the winning side, so-called, of the referendum. I just think everyone knows that people are living through great difficulty, and our political leaders are at 6s and 7s, and it's been a very, very sad sort of time. And then we arrive at July the 1st, 2016, 100 years after maybe one of the worst battles the world's ever seen in terms of losses. And you wake up to, I don't know, the sound of the chimes of Big Ben chiming 7:30 when you knew the whistles blew, and over they went. And who were these people? You know, they were young lads from the Tyne, they were young farm boys from Devon, they were butchers and bakers and poets and artists. And their lives were, in a way, surrendered by the machinations of people who didn't have the wit to sit down and sort stuff out. So I suppose what it is, we've been living through the week of reflection of how serious division is, and how the growth of prejudice and hate is so easy to encourage if we're not careful. And all my life, actually, it's been a life of course there's been terrible things happening, I know that, but it has been essentially, I've lived in a country where there has been peace, mostly. And the presumption was always that we hoped for better. And when Joe Cox went down in front of that library, for there was something about being killed in front of a library, which I just found horrifying. And that's in this country, you know, the country of Shakespeare and Wordsworth and Ted Hughes and Philip Pullman, that a place that's so essential to our culture, that this appalling thing could happen, and to such a person. So that set me back, I must say, and I was being set back. And then this morning, to wake up to those chimes, you felt, well, those fellows didn't, if there's any point at all in it, then they fell in that mud so that we could live in peace. So that's the hope. And I think we just have to go on fighting the good fight. And this place, 7 Stories, is part of that. It's part of having our children reading, empathizing, learning about themselves, learning about the world, and growing up to respect and love other people rather than the other things. So, yeah, this is not of those great places. It's a glorious library in celebration of children's literature and children.
I know that you are a supporter of the Remain campaign, but do you think Brexit has implications for children as well? They might be fearful at the moment.
I think the children catch whatever we catch. They look at the same stuff. I mean, I'm sure they don't spend their time sitting up at Newsnight and looking through it. But they certainly catch the flavour and the bitterness of what's been going on. And I also think we've all been on the receiving end. I mean, it doesn't matter which way you voted, really. We've all been on the receiving end of so much deception from both sides. I'm not aiming at one side or the other. We are all entitled to what we think about this. That's fair enough. But I think when deception steps in the place of democracy, that devalues the integrity of democracy, which is what is supposed to be holding us all together. And they must catch that. They must catch this sense that, you know, what are these people doing? And I do worry, that the young people, by and large, voted for a future with our friends over the channel in mainland Europe, because we are all Europe, whether we like it or not, they voted for that. And they're the ones who are going to live longest with the result of what it is that's happened. So what to do? We have to make the best of it, but we absolutely have not to go down the road of blaming our difficulties and problems all the time on other people's, of whatever colour or creed.
Is that the warning from 100 years ago, do you believe?
Sorry?
Is that the warning that we can receive from 100 years
Yes, I
ago?
mean, the way to madness, the madness of self-destruction is exactly that. You know, if we go down the road of hate and prejudice, and the only way we can solve our arguments is by killing the people we don't like, we don't approve of, we're not on that road, don't get me wrong, of course we're not. But it's a danger. It's a can of worms which if you open, you've got to be extraordinarily careful and sensitive. And I've had so many communications from friends abroad. I'll give you an example. I have a French family, really, who absolutely love this country. I mean, have a massive, massive respect for our culture and who we are, and our 20th century history as well, and our connection with Europe. And they feel a real sense of hurt. I think we didn't think about that. I mean, what we've done is reject people. Now, there are perfectly good reasons people have saying that. It is not democratic enough, and there's all sorts of things at the centre of Europe which need sorting, which are not right, and we don't want to be forced into being, you know, one great sort of bundle of nation states without a proper sense of nationhood. But they're not most those countries either. It's a question really of staying there and arguing, and we decided not to do that. Well, that was people's decision, but we've certainly got to make the best of it, that's for sure. And we mustn't pull up the drawbridge, and we mustn't build the walls around us and say, well, that's the world out there, and we don't like it. The world is actually, we are partly responsible for how this world has become. The migrants who come across the Mediterranean onto Greek shores, the fact that they're doing this is connected to what it is that we and other European empire countries have done way, way back. It's not a disconnected thing. We're the people who drew them lines in the sand all over Iraq. You know, we created a lot of this stuff. And now to step back and say, well, actually, no, that's your problem. And I was talking to my brothers, just come back from spending 3 weeks on Lesbos, really trying to help the islanders cope with this massive, massive influx of people. And he was saying just how extraordinary the people have been in terms of their welcome. Of course, there have been odd incidents of go away, we don't like you. But by and large, they've remained humane and open-hearted and caring, these people who have nothing. And we have been like this in the past. People, by and large, don't know this. I have cause to know it. I'm a little bit Belgian, and my grandfather, at the time of the First World War, was a great humanitarian. He married my grandmother, who was English, quite English anyway, and was living here when Belgium was invaded in 1940. And then the Belgians were fleeing. They wanted somewhere to run to. Their homes were being burnt and attacked. So what did they do? They got on the boats and they came to this country. 240,000 of them came in the space of a couple of months. Well, we didn't say, no, it's not our problem. They were taken in. I'm not saying it was all wonderful, and everyone said, oh, you're really welcome, do stay for the rest of your life. But by and large, the children came to our schools, they came to our doctors. We found ways of making accommodation to a world in trouble. And this world is in trouble. There have never been more migrants on the move. And no, of course we don't want people coming in so that we can't cope, but we do have to realise these are all human beings, and they're all in need. And if we reach to the best that's inside each of us, that is what we'll be trying to do, to help as many as we possibly can, along with our erstwhile colleagues in Europe. So yes, there's no point in me pretending I'm happy today, and the Battle of the Somme is just this sharp reminder of what can happen when the world goes mad.